My beloved child, stay with me, because there is a reason these words reached you at this exact moment. Don't look away now. Something is shifting beneath the surface of your life, quietly, almost invisibly, and the most important part is that you may not recognize it yet. You have been looking at certain closed doors, unanswered questions, delayed moments, and strange changes around you as though they were separate pieces of your story. But what if they are connected? What if the silence was never empty? What if the season that made you wonder whether anything was moving was actually preparing you for the moment when everything begins to make sense? Jesus wept because he saw what was coming for you, not tears meant to fill you with fear, but tears of compassion for everything you carried before reaching this turning point. He saw the nights when you kept going without knowing where the strength would come from. He saw the moments when you smiled while questions remained hidden behind that smile. He saw how many times you nearly convinced yourself that nothing extraordinary was going to happen, simply because extraordinary things had taken too long. And yet, there is something about your story that you have not seen clearly. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you, and the meaning behind those tears becomes clearer as this message unfolds. There are tears that come from sorrow, but there are also tears that appear when the heart sees the full distance between where someone started and where they are finally going. Imagine for a moment that heaven could show you the complete picture of your journey, every delay, every unexpected turn, every person who walked away, every opportunity that disappeared, every quiet prayer, every moment you thought you were forgotten. From where you stand, they may look like scattered memories. From a higher view, they can look like preparation. Don't skip. What comes next changes everything, because the first revelation is not about what is leaving your life. It is about what your heart has become capable of receiving. There was a version of you who once asked for things you were not yet ready to carry. You wanted answers before you had the wisdom to understand them. You wanted certain doors to open before you knew which rooms were truly meant for you. You wanted immediate movement because waiting felt like rejection. But slowly, quietly, something changed. Your discernment became deeper. Your patience became stronger. Your heart became less impressed by appearances. You began recognizing the difference between attention and genuine care, between noise and truth, between temporary excitement and lasting peace. That transformation matters more than you realize. This is where the story begins. The change coming into your life does not begin outside you. It begins with the person you became while you thought nothing was happening. There is spiritual symbolism hidden in this moment. Think about a seed beneath the soil. For a long time, nothing appears above the ground. Someone passing by could look at that empty patch and say, "Nothing is happening here." Yet beneath the surface, the shell is opening. Roots are forming. Life is moving in darkness before evidence appears in daylight. Your recent season may have felt exactly like that. You searched for visible proof while invisible roots were forming. You wondered where the answer was while your foundation was becoming strong enough to hold it. Stay with me. Your answer is closer than you think. There is a moment in every transformation when the hidden work finally touches the surface, and when it does, people often call it sudden. They say, everything changed overnight. But you will know better. You will remember the long nights. You will remember the patience. You will remember the private rebuilding. You will remember becoming stronger when nobody was applauding you. And that is why what appears sudden to others will feel deeply earned to you. Jesus saw that entire road. He saw the beginning while you were standing somewhere in the middle. He saw you questioning yourself, wondering whether you had missed your moment, whether your best chapter had already passed, whether the silence meant you should stop expecting something beautiful. But the mystery is this: some of the greatest changes enter quietly. They do not announce themselves with thunder. Sometimes they begin through one conversation, one realization, one unexpected opportunity, one person finally understanding what they could not understand before. One decision made differently because you are no longer the person you used to be. Don't look away now. There is something you need to understand before the next revelation. The tears in this story are connected to recognition. Jesus sees the difference between who you were when this journey started and who you are becoming now. He sees the strength you developed without realizing it. He sees the boundaries you learned to protect. He sees the compassion you kept even after disappointment tried to make you colder. He sees that you still have hope, even if you learn to carry it more quietly. And perhaps that is what makes this moment so powerful. You did not arrive here untouched. You arrived transformed. Something huge is waiting for you, but the surprising truth is that the greatest miracle may not simply be receiving something new. It may be recognizing that you are finally ready to respond differently when it arrives. Stay till the end. There is another layer to this, and it explains why certain things recently began feeling unfamiliar. Perhaps old conversations no longer satisfy you. Perhaps places you once wanted to remain in forever suddenly feel too small. Perhaps you have started questioning patterns you previously accepted without thinking. Perhaps you feel drawn toward a different rhythm, a different standard, a different future. This does not automatically mean everything around you must disappear. It can simply mean your inner world has grown. A larger vision cannot comfortably remain inside a smaller mindset forever. Eventually something must expand. And when expansion begins, the first sensation is not always excitement. Sometimes it feels like restlessness. Sometimes it feels like uncertainty. Sometimes it feels as though you are standing between two versions of your life, the familiar chapter behind you and the unwritten chapter ahead. That space can feel strange because you cannot fully return to who you were, yet you cannot completely see who you are becoming. But stay with me. What comes next changes everything. The bridge between those two chapters is not built through panic. It is built through trust, wisdom, patience, and the courage to recognize what no longer belongs in the future you are building. This is why certain old patterns have begun losing their power over you. Things that once controlled your emotions do not reach as deeply. Opinions that once determined your confidence no longer carry the same weight. You are beginning to realize that peace is worth protecting. You are beginning to understand that not every delay deserves your anxiety. Not every silence means rejection. Not every ending means failure. Sometimes an ending is simply the space required for something healthier to begin. Jesus wept because he saw how long you interpreted preparation as abandonment. He saw you wondering why the answer had not arrived when, from a larger perspective, pieces were still being positioned. He saw you compare your timing to people whose journey was completely different from yours. He saw there is a second symbol hidden in your journey, the doorway. A doorway is unusual because it belongs to two spaces at once. Stand directly inside one and you are no longer completely in the room behind you, but you have not fully entered the room ahead. That may describe your life right now. You are standing at an emotional and spiritual threshold. Behind you are lessons, memories, disappointments, beautiful moments, mistakes, victories, and versions of yourself that helped bring you here. Ahead of you is possibility. You cannot see every detail, and perhaps that is why this moment requires faith rather than certainty. Your answer is closer than you think. You do not need to know every step of the road before taking the next wise step. You do not need a complete map to recognize the door directly in front of you. And here is what makes this revelation different: the next chapter may not look like the picture you once imagined. It may be better in a quieter, deeper way. Perhaps you once imagined success as proving something to everyone who doubted you. Now you may discover that true success feels more like peace. Perhaps you once imagined love as constant intensity. Now you may recognize it through consistency, honesty, respect, and presence. Perhaps you once imagined purpose as something enormous that everyone would notice. Now you may realize purpose can begin with one decision that changes the direction of everything afterward. This is where the story begins, because the huge change coming into your life may arrive wearing ordinary clothes. Do not dismiss the simple conversation. Do not underestimate the unexpected idea. Do not ignore the peaceful instinct telling you to choose differently. Life-changing chapters rarely introduce themselves by saying, "I am the moment that changes everything." Often, you recognize their importance only later. That is why awareness matters now. Stay with me. There is still something you have not heard. Jesus did not weep because your future was empty. He wept because he saw the distance you traveled while believing you were standing still. He saw every moment you chose kindness when bitterness would have been easier. Every moment you kept your dignity when reacting would have been easier. Every moment you continued believing there could be something beyond what you could currently see. And those choices were shaping you. Quiet choices create loud consequences over time. One day you wake up and realize you no longer chase what once made you anxious. You no longer need explanations from everyone who misunderstood you. You no longer measure your worth through somebody else's ability to recognize it. You begin walking differently, speaking differently, deciding differently. And because you changed, the kind of future you can build changes too. Something huge is waiting for you. Not because you clicked on a message. Not because a countdown controls your destiny. But because transformation has consequences. When your thinking becomes clearer, your choices become clearer. When your choices become clearer, your direction changes. When your direction changes consistently, your life eventually begins reflecting it. That is the mystery people often overlook. They wait for one dramatic moment while ignoring the quiet decisions that create dramatic results. But you are being invited to notice them now. Don't look away now. The next piece is where everything becomes personal. There was a moment, perhaps so ordinary that you barely remember it, when you stopped begging something to remain exactly as it was. Maybe you became tired of forcing an answer. Maybe you stopped trying to convince someone to understand you. Maybe you released a plan that had consumed too much emotional energy. Maybe you simply whispered inside yourself, "I cannot keep carrying this the same way." That moment mattered. It may have looked like surrender, but sometimes surrender is the first movement of freedom. You loosened your grip, and suddenly your hands became available to hold something different. Stay with me. This is the part many people misunderstand. They think transformation always begins when something arrives. Sometimes transformation begins when you finally release what has already completed its purpose. A tree does not apologize when old leaves fall. It does not interpret every empty branch as permanent loss. There are seasons when letting go is not destruction, it is preparation for renewal. That symbolism belongs to your story. Some expectations may be falling away. Some assumptions may be changing. Some attachments to exactly how your future must happen may be becoming softer. And because of that, possibility is becoming larger. What comes next changes everything. Imagine carrying a photograph of what you believe happiness must look like. You carry it for years, comparing every opportunity to that single picture. Anything different feels wrong. But then one day you realize the photograph was created by an earlier version of you, someone who had not yet learned everything you know now. Suddenly you understand that the future does not need to match your old picture to become beautiful. That realization creates freedom. Your answer is closer than you think. The huge change approaching your life may first appear as a choice between familiarity and growth. Familiarity will whisper, "Stay where you already know the ending." Growth will quietly say, "There is more to discover." Familiarity will remind you how comfortable predictable patterns can feel. Growth will remind you that you were not created merely to repeat the same chapter forever. And there may be no dramatic sign telling you which one to choose. Instead, there may be peace. A quiet internal clarity. A sense that one direction allows you to breathe more deeply while another requires you to become smaller. Pay attention to that distinction. Don't skip. Something huge is waiting for you, but huge does not always mean loud. Sometimes the biggest shift in a person's life begins with a sentence nobody else hears: "I choose differently now." That sentence can alter relationships. It can alter habits. It can alter opportunities. It can alter the way you walk into rooms. It can alter what you accept and what you decline. It can alter how long you remain somewhere that no longer allows you to grow. Jesus sees those invisible decisions. That is why the tears in this story carry tenderness. They are the tears of seeing someone finally approach a doorway they once believed they would never reach. There were times you wondered whether your effort mattered. There were moments when you watched others move ahead and quietly wondered whether you were somehow behind. But lives cannot be measured by identical clocks. Some people bloom early. Others develop roots for longer because their future requires depth. A giant tree cannot be compared to a flower simply because the flower appeared sooner. Different growth requires different preparation. Stay till the end. The spiritual symbolism becomes even stronger here. Think about dawn. The darkest part of the sky does not suddenly become noon. First there is a barely visible line of light. If you are not watching carefully, you might miss it. Then slowly the horizon changes. Shapes become visible. Colors return. What was hidden begins revealing itself. That may be how your next chapter arrives. First a subtle shift. Then confirmation. Then movement. Then something that once seemed impossible begins looking strangely natural. And one day you will realize you crossed into a new season without hearing a single announcement. Don't look away now. There is another emotional twist. The thing that changes your life may be connected to something you once considered a disappointment. Perhaps a closed door redirected you. Perhaps someone's absence taught you what presence should feel like. Perhaps a delay forced you to develop skills you would never have developed otherwise. Perhaps losing certainty taught you how to trust your own discernment. The very chapter you wanted removed from your story may contain the lesson that protects your next chapter. That does not mean every painful experience was necessary or deserved. It means you can carry wisdom forward without allowing the past to control you. That distinction is powerful. You are not being asked to glorify what hurt. You are being invited to recognize what you learned. Stay with me. What comes next changes everything because your future does not require you to forget your past, it requires you to stop letting your past write every new sentence. Imagine opening a fresh page while continuing to copy yesterday's words onto it. Eventually you would wonder why nothing changes. But the moment you write something different, the story begins moving somewhere new. This is where the story begins. Your new sentence may be, I will not assume every new person will repeat an old person's behavior. It may be, I will not abandon my peace to prove my value. It may be, I will stop calling myself late simply because my timing looks different. It may be, I will become curious about what is possible instead of constantly preparing for disappointment. Those are not empty statements. Repeated consistently, they become direction. And direction eventually becomes destination. Jesus saw the destination before you understood the road. He saw you reaching a point where your heart would become strong without becoming hard, wise without becoming cynical, hopeful without becoming careless. That balance took time. Perhaps that is why certain things could not be rushed. You were not simply waiting for circumstances. You were developing discernment. Something huge is waiting for you. The surprising part is that when it arrives, you may respond with more calm than you expected. Earlier versions of you might have panicked, overthought, rushed, or tried desperately to control every detail. The person you are becoming can pause. Observe. Pray. Consider. Choose. That calm will become one of the clearest signs of your growth. Don't skip. There is a reason peace keeps appearing throughout this message. Not every important opportunity comes with adrenaline. Some arrive with an almost mysterious familiarity, as though something inside you recognizes the direction before your mind understands it. You may encounter a conversation and think, why does this feel different? You may consider an opportunity and notice that instead of anxiety, there is clarity. You may wake one morning and realize the question that troubled you for months no longer owns your thoughts. That is change. Quiet, undeniable change. Your answer is closer than you think. And perhaps the answer is not one event. Perhaps it is a sequence. One choice opens another possibility. One conversation leads to another introduction. One realization changes one decision. One decision changes 1 month. 1 month changes 1 year. This is how enormous transformations sometimes happen. Not as explosions, but as chains of meaningful moments. Stay with me, because the next revelation explains why you have felt such unusual emotional distance from things that once consumed you. When a chapter is nearing completion, its emotional gravity often changes. You can remember something without needing to return to it. You can care about someone without needing to chase them. You can appreciate what a season taught you without wanting to live there again.